I don't even know what he said about my comments because I don't give a shit about Lance Storm, part of my French. Beep, beep. I could care less. Bro, Chris, here's the problem. You know, you could say whatever you want about me. You could have your opinion of me. You could have your opinion of my booking. But the bottom line is, bro, the numbers are not going to go away.
Let's talk about Lance Storm, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go throwing down memory lane. So Lance Storm.
Wasn't true he had a huge rod? Because I remember that angle.
Did Lance Storm have a huge rod?
I remember he had the angle.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that, yes. I thought the funniest thing was, and Vince Russo wasn't even there, so all the marks out there can't credit this and attribute this to Vince Russo. So when Lance Storm, when he went to WWE after the invasion, he had this dancing gimmick, this like really bad dancer who's like, he came out to like club music and it was just, he would do the Cabbage Patch. It was so anti Lance Storm. And I don't remember who was, Vince, you would know this as far as like who took over there. It was like around there. This had to be around 03 probably.
Bro, those are that's just Pritchard and Vince ribbing him because he was so serious.
Really?
I mean, absolutely. When somebody's as serious like that and they believe their own shit and wrestling's real and this and that, they're gonna turn him into a clown.
This is when kind of like I awoke from the fact that internet wrestling reporting is just some wrestlers that are buddies of people telling them their opinions and then being reported as fact. But, you know, I remember, we're on the internet, we're all mad. Lance Storm's a great wrestler. Of course he's a great wrestler. Oh, Lance Storm's a technician. Of course he's a technician. They don't think he has a personality. Now they're making him do these dumb things. And I'm watching the dumb things, and I'm like, I'm laughing. And I'm like, I'm entertained. And, like, he's still having really good matches. Like, he's been there with Edge and Christian showing his ass, but having banger matches. I'm like, why is the internet so upset? This is actually really good because you get the great wrestling, and they're using him because they want to make him entertaining, or he's too serious, so they're, you know, effing with him. But at the same time, I get the best of both worlds. So that's when I realized the internet was just a guy complaining to a writer and then therefore being reported as fact.
Yeah, unfortunately, he is the internet because that's the stuff he believes.
God.
Bro, I always say this. Listen, I don't even know what he said about my comments because I don't give a shit about Lance Storm, part of my French. Beep, beep. I could care less. Bro, Chris, here's the problem. You know, you could say whatever you want about me. You could have your opinion of me. You could have your opinion of my booking. But the bottom line is, bro, the numbers are not going to go away. Period. End of story. Chris, if I was today burying today's wrestling products, and their numbers were through the roof, I'd be the idiot. I'd be the idiot, bro, because I'm standing here telling you how much this stuff stinks and sucks and is horrible, and the ratings are through the roof. That's what Lance Storm has said about my career. Everything Vince Russo said was sucked, was horrible. He didn't know what he was doing, this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, right, Lance. And the ratings were through the roof. Like, it's period, end of story, bro. That's your opinion. You're in the minority. You weren't part of the masses that were enjoying that product. Who cares what you think, bro? I could care less. Like, literally, I could care less what he thinks, bro. I don't even know what he said. I know he said something because somebody told me he said something. I didn't even care enough to find out what he said.
I'll say that in a moment for the sake of the show, but go ahead, East. What's
Oh yeah, I mean, like, the guy was Intercontinental Champion. He's working top of the, he's working like super cool matches with, like, I loved when a great technician would get in there with like The Rock, you know, and then like the matches just had a different feel because Rock would like keep up, and he'd added like a new trick to his arsenal just to make sure people know, yeah, I can work too, but I'm also a huge star that's over as hell, and the crowd's going nuts the whole time. Like, I don't get why people like they think Vince hates wrestling and good wrestling, and I can vouch for him that he loves good wrestling. He loves great wrestling. He loves a 20-minute match. All he's asking for and all he wants is that the characters that have motivations and reasons and to be developed and entertaining and engaging to a mass audience. He ain't the devil.
Indeed.
And he paid me $20 to say that.
All right, so for those who don't know what we're talking about, let me bring
and honestly, Chris, I don't. I know he said something. I don't know what he said.
Bring everybody up to speed, including
Go ahead.
Russo. Here we go. So Raj Giri, our friend Raj Giri, he made a tweet. He said, Vince Russo to Chris Van Vliet about what has changed with wrestling. He puts a quotes. This is what you said. You said, it's all about the fake match and has nothing to do with the characters in the story. I mean, that's it, bro. You know, back in the day, going all the way to Bruno, man. Back to Bruno, man. It was all about characters and story. That's what draws the casual fan. Wrestling matches don't draw a casual fan. That's why I did Crash TV. 5 to 8 minutes, the matches are over. Boom, boom. What's next? Boom. You turn on today, then the main event of Raw starts at 10:30. Bro, if I'm not a wrestling fan of In Reaction, I'm not watching it. Because the reality of the situation is, whether we want to believe it or not, fans of in-ring action, that's a very niche audience. That is a very niche audience. That's why I knew when I started writing at WWE, bro, I had to open that up. Because if you didn't like wrestling, you weren't watching the show. So how was I going to get people to watch the show? Real simple. Create characters that they fell in love with and they were emotionally tied to. Then give those characters story, because now you got them hooked. Now they gonna tune in every week. All that is gone. It is not existent. And my thing is, Chris, I don't think I would have such a problem if they just changed the name. Don't call it wrestling. Call it performance art, or call it something else. Before I go to Storm's comments on that, is that you want to expand on that, or
I want to hear what EC3 has to say about that. Did I say anything like mind blowing, bro?
I would say you said nothing that I wouldn't expect you to say, and nor did I think you said anything offensive about what wrestling was and what wrestling is. I think people take out of the context anytime they kind of like have this just need to talk you. Sorry, this need to degrade you and your opinion because you're such an easy target because of the internet's perception of you from 23 freaking years ago. Like, all you are saying is like wrestling is cool, wrestling is better when there's stories and characters that I care about, and they kind of forget the fact that the 1990s, like, you were trying something different to gauge attention, and it worked. It worked really well. Was it sustainable for 20 years? Who's to say? Like, Crash TV probably would run its course, or there would have been an evolution where there's segments dedicated to Crash TV and there's segments dedicated to more wrestling, and there's going to be that balance. But like, you've done nothing wrong. You love the fact that wrestling is cool when there's really good matches between people you care about.
Sure.
That's what I get.
Indeed.
I think you said fake though, even though like the fake fights, because I think Lance said about, were they fake fights in Rocky? Well, yeah, they were. They're all Rocky.
Fake fights, yeah. So this is what he said. He said, I wonder if he hated the fake fights in the Rocky movies. Bro, what about the characters and stories? Why are you focusing on these fake fights, bro?
I don't even know what that means, bro. I'll be honest with you. Is that the quote?
Yeah, that's what he said.
I don't even know what. Chris, can you explain that to me?
So when you told Chris,
bro, I cared about the fake fights.
Nothing to do with the characters.
Bro, I cared about the fake fights in Rocky because I cared about the characters.
Okay.
I cared about Rocky. That's why I cared about the fake fight. If I don't care about the people in the fake fight, I don't care about the fake fight. So of course I cared about Rocky. Of course I cared about Creed. Of course I cared about Mickey. Of course I cared about Adrian. Of course I cared about the story.
Nobody cares about Adrian.
I would have cared about. I would have cared about none of it if there were no characters and story, bro. Bro, let me put it to you this way, Chris. If Rocky EC3, if Rocky was just the fight at the end of the movie, I wouldn't have cared about Rocky.
No.
Does that explain it?
Sure.
Hey, I'm an underdog or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, seriously. Is he brain dead, bro?
So speaking of that, so he ended up commenting on Janis Joplin is getting way over today. There you go. There you go. Going to fly now.
You care about the fake fights in Rocky? Yes, so much is tattooed on the forearm.
Yes,
indeed.
Thank you. Yeah.
So someone said it's odd to me that he's still regarded as a reliable source for wrestling, and Lance responded only by disco.
That's funny. That's funny.
Very nice.
And someone else said, "Man, why couldn't I have done one thing and then lived off of it for 25 years? Why don't they tell you in high school that you could do that?" Lance said, "Self-respect likely prevented you."
Wait, self-respect what?
Likely prevented you. So I mean, since you respect yourself.
So I don't respect myself that 25 years later people are still paying me for my opinion. So
Yeah.
I shouldn't respect myself for that.
According to Lance Storm.
Bro, please. I could give a crap about Lance Storm.
But Lance, didn't you put him over?
Bro, not only that, you know who was his biggest advocate? You know who was his biggest advocate when we put every belt on him?
You?
The guy he just buried.
Yeah.
Disco.
Oh, Disco.
Bro, Disco was his biggest advocate, and here he is burying Disco. Seriously, Chris, that would be like 20 years from now, when I'm 82, if somebody's interviewing me about Sportskeeda, I'm burying you.
Wow.
Disco was his biggest freaking advocate, bro.
Yeah, that's odd.
It's whacked, man.
Yeah. Why do you think that he felt so like visceral about? He had such a visceral reaction toward you feeling like that toward the product, and then you comparing the product. You know, as of now, you're not a big fan of it, and so the product as of 2000, you know, when you were there, Lance Storm came in and had multiple belts and changed them to Canadian names.
That's awesome.
that was pretty cool, man. And so, was that a Vince Russo? Was that a Vince Russo thing?
What were some of the names? Tell me some of the names that I'll. Yes.
You know, the kilos and
bro. But like I said, I give credit where credit is due. Disco was part of my committee, and Disco was behind Lance Storm 1,000%. Let's put all the belts on him. Let him change the names. Bro, I don't understand. I don't understand that, bro.
So he changed the U.S. to the Canadian heavyweight champion. That was pretty
hilarious.
And so he changed I think he had the cruiserweight championship. He changed to the 100 kilograms and under championship. And he had the hardcore championship. He changed it to the Saskatchewan Hardcore International Championship. I thought it
was cool.
Yeah. And this music
international title, because you know what that means, right, bro? Saskatchewan Heavyweight International Title.
Hardcore International title.
Do you get what that means, bro? EC3?
Yes, I do. It's
yeah. So now, yes, that was me. Now I know. I know that was me, bro. But I don't get, bro. I swear to God, there is a percentage of the wrestling marks, and Lance Storm is a wrestling mark, who somewhere along the lines, bro, convinced themselves that wrestling is real. And I am being dead serious about that. Okay, Lance, here's where we differ. The show was on TV. Therefore, it was a television show. Okay, so as a writer, I am going to write this as a television show. Did we write pay-per-views that way? No, bro, because they were wrestling pay-per-views, not on television, bro. But when you have a television show, you write it like a television show. To Lance, the television show would have been a house show. That's what the show would have been. That's not a television show, bro. That's a house show.
Gotcha. Let me give some credit to Fightful here. They had an interview with Lance Storm back in 2020, so about 3 years ago. When it came to the names of the titles, he said, "I hated that name." He said, "Well, the thing is, that was never pitched to me because they were making it up as they went along. So it's okay. You're going to win. Hold on, let me finish the quote here. So it's okay. You're going to win the U.S. title. Okay, cool. That one I knew about several days ahead because Johnny Ace, who was the agent at the time for it, he called me with, 'You're getting a big push. You're winning this tournament. We need to come up with what your finisher is going to be." Because I had been using the half crab until that, and he was undecided or unsure whether he would be able to convince all of those guys to tap. So he was thinking we should probably do a pinfall finisher. But after several minutes of debate, he was finally like, "Oh, screw it. I'll just make them all tap out." I was like, "Okay." And he goes on and says, I think it the day before, because I knew there was still argument going on because Big Vito, who I beat for the hardcore title, was really tight with Russo, and he had talked to Russo the day before, and at that point I was beating him in a U.S. title match on Nitro, and he was beating me in a hardcore match on Thunder or vice versa. We were each going to defend our titles against each other and successfully retain. It was that day of that they decided, no, let's put the two titles on Lance because he was arguing and complaining about having to lose the title at the show. There you go.
Why would I put the two titles on Lance if Big Vito was my boy?
Also, if he's your boy, it doesn't mean
Bro, you know what you find out? And EC3 will tell you this because EC3 is not of this ilk.
Before you go on that, let me read this last quote because it's weird because he's actually complaining about having 3 championships. Yeah. Okay, so he said, so as far as winning 3 championships, he said, so it was last minute that they decided that, and the other one I found out again an hour before it happened. So he's upset that he's finding that he's winning multiple championships in a short amount of time. So I never had a chance for anything to sink in. It's just boom, boom, boom. It's like, oh, okay. So you're busy doing the job and you don't really think about it until you have to go to the airport and realize you have 3 title belts in your carry-on and security is going to be a real nightmare.
Listen, EC3, you agree with me on this because I know you're not of this ilk because you're just too smart and you don't blame anybody else for anything. Bro, is it true that wrestlers in general, not everybody, wrestlers in general will convince themselves of whatever they want to convince themselves of, right or wrong, bro?
Right, yeah.
If they want to believe something, they will convince themselves that that is the truth.
What did Costanza say? If you tell, it's not a lie if you believe it, or if it's not a subjective opinion if you believe it, or it's not my opinion if I really believe it, it's fact. Like, no, it's absurd. It's so div-filled, prima donna, nonsensical, like, God.
Chris, you can ask anybody. Chris, you can ask anybody I worked with at any job I had, TNA, WCW, or WWE. You could ask anybody. Ask anybody. Ask Tony Schiavone. Ask Jim Ross. Ask Kevin Nash. Ask anybody. Bro, when I was writing, there was nothing last minute. You had a complete format of everything that was going to be on the show. literally days ahead of time. Ask anybody that worked with me when I was a head writer. You had a complete show. The show would be sent to the top guys. Not everybody, but the top guys would get the show so they could go over their stuff and see if there would be any changes. There was no last minute booking. That's what Eric was doing with WCW. That stuff was being rewritten during the show. At any company I ever worked with, bro, it never worked that way. We worked all week on the show. We brought the show, when we went to the arena, that's the show that we did. There was no laugh. Now, bro, with the agent,
you didn't inform everybody like ahead of time, because maybe they would just, oh man, I get the show in advance. Hello, internet, take this show, and you can have
absolutely, bro, absolutely. Now, with the agents, if we know Lance is going over, and the agent is kicking around different finishes, that's a different story. That's got nothing to do with me, because the agent has the freedom to do that. I just tell the agent, bro, this is what I need as a finish. However you guys want to get there, that is up to you. So if they're throwing away, a crab, Boston crabs, and this and that's the wrestling part of it. That's got nothing to do with the writer, bro.
Very interesting. To your point, didn't Luger get get an audible called on him because of that? To a sense, he was supposed to be the champ, and then he was doing some media or something like that for some magazines or some radio or something like that, saying that he was supposed to be champ, or this was during his All-American days, when after he slammed Yokozuna.
Oh yeah, something happened. There was some kind of heat that made them change direction. Yeah.
I think it was something to do with he was supposed to he was doing some media before SummerSlam or something like that, and he kind of spoiled it a little bit, and then it just kind of changed directions, and he ended up winning with the via countouts with the forearm shot. And hey, we'll get back to you, Lex. Yeah, you'll be champ. We'll get to you over at WrestleMania.